This killer accidentally gave himself away on live TV. Imagine the guy being interviewed about a local murder turns out to be the actual murderer.
Okay, so I actually have heard of this case before, and I have seen the original footage. It is very, very eerie. Basically, the guy being interviewed is the person who committed the crime, and then they tell him that a body's been found. And see, when he finds out a body's been found, his face drops.
It was a gorgeous summer in 2011 in Georgia. Lauren Giddings was a beautiful 27-year-old student living in Macon. She went to church, she was super sporty, she was really popular with the girls and the guys. She was the eldest of 3 sisters and had an adorable little dog called Butterbean. She was incredibly intelligent and she wanted to start a career in law.
Whenever we watch these clips, I always forget that these are actual real people. It's not like this is some made up fantasy or some made up story. This is a real person. Imagine a family member, a friend, or like a colleague at work. They could be one of these people. And in the case of this woman, it was some people's reality.
Another student living in the area was Stephen McDaniel. Now, he was far less popular and intelligent than Lauren. In fact, he was more of a social outcast. He mostly kept himself to himself, but he did have a bit of a disturbing obsession with swords and weapons. Sadly, it wasn't his only obsession. Now, Lauren and Stephen did know each other. They'd previously attended class together, and Stephen became fixated on her. The pair lived in nearby apartments, and Stephen would kind of watch her out of the corner of his eye sometimes, and even plucked up the courage to ask Lauren out.
What I'm getting is that he is a typical creepy guy. Sometimes when you come across people who are a bit of outcasts and you know a bit odd, you kind of feel bad for them. But then cases like this pop into my head, and it kind of makes me think, is it worth trying to get to know them? What happens if you're the next person to be murdered?
But Lauren declined his advances. She was always polite about this, but she said she did have a boyfriend, but he kept continuously asking her out and she kept having to say no. But he would just not take no for an answer. He became fixated on stalking her social media accounts and chillingly watching her through the curtain of his home. He would spy on her as she came in and out of her apartment, and the idea of that just gives me chills. Like, imagine just not realizing that somebody's literally spying on you.
It is really easy to spy on somebody. Like, it's quite shocking how much information you can gather from someone's social media. Do you reckon she knew deep down that she was being watched? I mean, I would say I'm pretty good when I'm out and about. I know if someone's crossing the road, I know if someone's behind me. That kind of makes you think, someone could be watching you from a bush, you might not even know.
Then things took an even more sinister and terrifying turn. He became so obsessed with Lauren that he actually created a contraption to enable him to record her through the window.
Oh.
He attached a camera to a stick to enable him to film her and then rewatch it back after. And Lauren was an intelligent girl. Like I said, she did kind of get an eerie feeling about Stephen. She was pretty security conscious and she was just getting this uncomfortable gut feeling. She even told her friends that she felt she was being watched.
In a situation like that, can you even do anything? Just because you have a gut feeling doesn't mean it's a reality. I mean, in her case, it was the reality and the truth. But if you go and say you've got a gut feeling, what can somebody do? And now whenever you look at him, he is the type to act creepy like that.
By the time they all realised she was right, she was being watched, it was far too late. On Friday the 24th of June, Lauren went to a local bar with her friends to have some drinks. She'd actually been getting to know an older guy called David and they really liked each other. They just were kind of like rekindling something. And Lauren had split with her boyfriend Joe, from what I understand. But she was still kind of friends with Joe. They were still on good terms. And as I said, they'd only recently broke up. So I think she stayed at his house that night. The next day, she left his house to go to a country club for the day. Nothing seemed off at all. But on the 29th of June, Lauren's sisters had a really bad feeling. Suddenly, Lauren had kind of just dropped off the face of the earth. She just wasn't contacting them. She wasn't texting them back, calling them back. Her friend Ashley also had a really bad feeling about this and had a spare key. So Ashley and Ashley's boyfriend headed over to Lauren's apartment just to check things out, see if she was in there. But Lauren wasn't inside, and her belongings were, like her bag, her ID, her
It's
purse,
as if she just disappeared,
money.
yeah.
And Ashley just said she felt like she had this sinking gut feeling that something was really wrong. Now soon the news was spreading fast of the stunning missing student and local media began to get interested. Meanwhile, local students were offering to help look for Lauren, including Stephen McDaniel. He seemed concerned like everybody else did. Police searched Lauren's laptop inside of her apartment and they found something chilling. She'd sent David an email saying that she was really worried because somebody had been trying to break into her flat. As the investigation continued, as I said, the local TV stations were there pitching up and interviewing people, including Stephen. He really came across as quite nervous, but maybe he was just nervous for being on TV. He repeatedly stated that nobody knows anything or knows where she is. Then the interviewer dropped an absolute bombshell. She said Lauren's body had in fact been found. And Stephen at this news
literally
appeared
froze.
totally stunned, and he just acted very, very strange. He said he needed to go and sit down. Now, interestingly though, throughout the interview, he'd been referring to Lauren in the past tense. And a lot of people feel that when people do this in interviews, that means they know that person is no longer alive. Tragically, Lauren's torso had been found in bin bags in a bin on campus. This was clearly a brutal homicide. Now, terrifyingly, a hacksaw that still had blood on it was found in the communal laundry room. It kind of felt like somebody had tried to wash the blood off, but done a really quick job of this and had not got all of the blood off. And because of how odd he was acting, Stephen's apartment did get searched by police and they found some damning evidence. Not only was he totally acting like nervous and sweaty and just really, really suspicious, they found Lauren's underwear in his flat. As if that wasn't bad enough, they also found a key that fit Lauren's apartment and the packaging for that very same hacksaw they'd found. They also found hundreds of videos that Stephen had made of Lauren using his homemade contraption. It transpired that at 4:30 a.m. on June the 26th, Stephen had used the key to enter Lauren's apartment. He wore a mask and gloves and choked her to death. He dismembered her and then discarded her remains on the campus grounds. He ended up pleading guilty. Ultimately, there was just so much evidence against him, and he will be eligible for parole in 2041.
So in the end, he might actually get out of jail. That is just petrifying. I mean, if we look at that screenshot right there, he just looks like the type of person to be a murderer. I also played news footage of him finding out that she was found.
What about in the parking lot area? I know they've been doing a lot of, I think that's where they have recovered the body or whatever they recovered from there.
Body?
Had you seen anything there? Had you seen anything there? I mean, we don't know if this is the same person.
What a poor girl, you know, she just wanted to be nice to the odd guy and then he's the one who ended up murdering her. Why didn't you just reject him? I mean, she did reject him, but that's the thing, some men just cannot deal with rejection. At the end of the day, he had an obsession with her and it was not going to end well. Whether she rejected him or not, she most likely probably would have ended up dead. Either her or another woman. The idea of someone lurking in the shadows to stalk you is so terrifying. I just feel for her because imagine the absolute fear she used to feel. I'm very lucky where I've never been in a situation like that. I've never been made to feel scared in my own home. You know, I've always been able to live here and feel very comfortable. Imagine living somewhere and you literally fear because someone's trying to break in. I'm always very curious of these cases because I want to know, is he the first woman that he's had a fixation with? Was she the first woman that he murdered? For all we know, he could have been a serial killer. She might have just been the first woman they were able to pin in him.
These sisters walked into the night and never came back. Weeks later, their bodies were found in a river. Did they take their own lives or was foul play involved? On the 7th of January 2025, 32-year-old Eliza and Henrietta Husentu were two sisters from a set of triplets.
I'm going to pause it there because I don't know whereabouts this happened in the world. In the UK recently, in the past few years, there's been a lot of people found dead in rivers, primarily women. I read a theory online that there's meant to be like serial killers out there that are basically dumping people in rivers. But recently there's been quite a few women who've went missing and found dead in rivers. Obviously there was Nicola Billy who was eventually found in a river. There was a woman recently who went out at like 4 a.m. She went shopping, didn't come home, she was reported missing and then she was found dead in a river. It could just be a weird coincidence, but I feel like everyone's been found in a river recently.
They disappeared in Aberdeen in Scotland.
Oh, there we go.
The women were originally from Hungary but moved to Aberdeen 10 years prior. On the day of their disappearance, CCTV footage shows them crossing Victoria Bridge over the River Dee at around 2:12 a.m. They are then seen turning onto a footpath beside the river, heading towards Aberdeen Boat Club. At the same time, Henrietta sent a text to her landlady declaring that they both will not be returning back to the apartment. The landlord found this message really alarming and totally out of character and contacted the police straight away. After Henrietta sent this message, her phone went offline. Previous afternoon, on the 6th of January at 12:50 p.m, both the sisters are captured again on CCTV on the same bridge. They stand there for around 5 minutes having a conversation before leaving and making their way back to their apartment. Their family described their behaviour that night of their disappearance completely out of character because typically these two sisters were never out at that time in the morning. They weren't party goers, they weren't
It's always
late-night
happening during the
owls.
morning
They
as
typically
well.
preferred to be at home. A major search for these missing women took place and Police Scotland deployed divers, marine units, helicopters and cadaver dogs. Also, drones were used to comb the River Dee and surrounding harbour area. After 3 weeks, river searches were officially ended on the 27th of January, although coastal patrols continued the search for them. Then, on the 31st of January, 2 bodies were discovered in the River Dee. These were later officially identified as Henrietta and Eliza. Their death certificates stated that their sole cause of death was drowning, and police reported no suspicious circumstances. Despite this, many questions still remain, as the sister's father believes that the women would not have taken their own lives and speculated foul play was involved. But this is something that the police firmly deny. However, the family highlighted that Eliza and Henrietta were financially stable, both working and saving to buy their own apartment. The surviving triplet sister and the brother remain committed to uncovering answers.
I want to say I didn't even know that was in Scotland, which is part of the UK. But there's a theory online that there's somebody travelling around the UK, a serial killer, and they're shoving people in the rivers. It's never happening in the afternoon, tea time, or like late at night. It's always very early in the morning, between 2 a.m. and 7 a.m. It just is weird, isn't it? You know, it's really happening all over the place. Did they take their lives? Did one of them slip in and the other one tried to save the one that was in the river and then drowned eventually? I don't know, it's just weird, but like it really does make the whole serial killer theory seem very truthful. Like I feel like it could be real. Their poor triplet ripped at them both. Imagine being part of the triplet and then like 2 of them literally disappear and die and it's just you left. That would be really hard to deal with, wouldn't it? Police just don't take these river victims as suspicious. It's very heartbreaking. That's what I'm saying, like it's so suspicious how many people are being found in rivers. But then to be the devil's advocate, maybe the police know that there is a serial killer on the loose but they don't want to publicly acknowledge it. I don't know, maybe that could put them into hiding. It just is weird. There's been a lot of people, especially women, found in rivers. It's really, really bad in London, but it's not just in London, it's like all over the UK. It's very freaky.
For 35 years, the question still remains, who was Penny Doe? Hello, true crimerers, this is the case of the Penny Doe. Viewer discretion is advised. On a warm July 22nd, 1990 afternoon, 4 children were outside playing in Monroe Township, Pennsylvania, near this tunnel. As they got closer to the tunnel, they noticed something inside.
This is just like a typical horror film layout, isn't it? It's in the 1990s, kids are going to a tunnel and of course they find a dead body.
And I believe it was kind of right on the outskirts of the tunnel. They saw a human skull. And they noticed the rest of the skeleton. And they immediately, obviously these are kids, became very frightened, and so they ran all the way home where they told their adults that something bad had happened. So police arrived and sure enough, they confirmed there was a human body inside this tunnel. It was almost nearly skeletonized with really not much like flesh or anything like that. The remains had no identification with them. This was the first rendering they made of the victim, which they determined was a woman. She had been killed by blunt force trauma to her skull. And they believe that her time of death was sometime between 6 to 8 weeks prior to her being found. Given that, you know, it's a warm summer, the body is going to decompose a little bit faster. She was clothed, and in her pants, in each one of her pockets, they found a penny. Not this exact one, but... So they gave her the nickname Penny Doe.
It makes you wonder why she wasn't found for so long. Like, I know it kind of was in the middle of nowhere, but how can like a body just not be found? People love exploring. I'm a massive explorer. I love going into fields, forests, just abandoned places. It kind of makes you wonder how many dead bodies are just out there, not even covered, literally just like hiding in like a bush. I would say there's probably hundreds, but I reckon there could be thousands.
Penny Doe at the time was wearing size 9 Gitano Express jeans, size 7 Fruit of the Loom brand underwear, and a black button-down shirt with attached floral vest made by Stoplight of California. She was not wearing any shoes or socks, there was no jewelry found with her remains, and they also had no bra. Given the state of her remains, they had a very hard time distinguishing how old she was, and they could really just speculate that between 20 and 40 years old. She did have shoulder-length, dark brown hair. They estimated she probably weighed somewhere between 105 and 120 pounds, and she was between 4'10" and 5'6". She did also have
Very
a
small.
broken right leg. I don't know if it was like broken during the attack that led to her death, or if it was like broken prior and it was like healing. This was another rendering of the Penny Doe, but authorities believed that she was not local to that area in Pennsylvania, that she was likely visiting from outside the area, or she was abducted elsewhere and brought to this area. They did say that based on her teeth, she may have come from an area with fluoride in the water, since her teeth had no fillings and no sign of decay. She did have a chipped upper right tooth. This is a third rendering of the victim. Police can only speculate. They're not positive if she attended this, but on Sunday, May 27th, 1990, there was this large outdoor rock concert going on, which brought in a lot of people from outside the area. Speculation is that she may have been at that rock concert, but they're just guessing. As the years go by, as women are reported missing in this area, or even outside the area, they have been able to compare and rule out those missing women to being the Penny Doe. And to this day, here in 2025, they still have absolutely no idea who she is. They know she was murdered, somebody killed her, and then dumped her body in that tunnel for children to find.
Ugh.
I feel like it's always kids that find these horrific
Imagine how
things.
traumatized
I was
they
reading an
are.
article that one of the girls who was there who found her, it's traumatized her. She sees the
course.
image of this skull inside her mind every time she closes her eyes. It's just sad all the way around. But surely someone somewhere out there has got to know who is Penny Doe and what exactly happened to her. And perhaps that someone is you.
I mean, I personally don't know who she is. It is quite terrifying, first of all, that kids found a body. Imagine having to deal with that. I wouldn't even know how to react if I found a body. I genuinely probably think it was a dummy. Who is she, though? That's what I want to know. It's just the fact, like, they found a body, but they don't know who it is. Like, that's a life that has been taken. They don't know who murdered her. They don't know how she got there, and they don't actually know who she is. It's crazy to think that she lived a life, had family, friends, whatnot, then one day it was gone, and no one knows who she is. Someone out there knows what happened to her. I mean, it literally could be a situation where, like, she did have a life, but then she just disappeared and people just assumed she wanted to move away. Maybe that's what people done back in the 1990s. I mean, if my friend literally disappeared, I would be freaked out. I'd be calling the police. Maybe because my friends don't disappear and then will never talk to me. But you have to keep in mind, back then they didn't have mobile phones, they didn't have technology like how we have it now. It's not like she could just text her friend or send a Snapchat. It's just weird, very, very eerie, and it's the fact that someone's done that and they haven't found them. Yet again, was that their first victim, or was that like their 50th victim? I honestly believe most John/Jane Doe cases are caused by family members. That is a possibility. Think of it, they might not report them missing. They could just turn around and say, oh, like she just wanted to disappear, just assume she was starting her life somewhere else. But yet again, it's the fact that like she is somebody. Who is she and who killed her? You'd think someone would know who she is with all this info so weird. See, the thing is, somebody does know who she is. Or actually, they might not know who she is, but they know what happened because they're the one who done it. And that is the thing that freaks me out whenever somebody is found dead or somebody goes missing. If it wasn't done by the person themselves, it was done by somebody else. Who was it? Why did they do it? And where are they now? It's just the fact that like they're living with that secret. If somebody goes missing and it's ruled as suspicious and the body's found and they were murdered, who done it? If nobody's arrested or charged, that person's still out there, and that's the freakiest bit. Well, anyways, guys, it's really a video there. That's some true crime cases. If you want to see me look at more cases like this, then I definitely will. Press big subscribe and see you all tomorrow for another video.